So you want to know how to solve basic trigonometry problems. Watch this video and I'll explain. So in trigonometry, these functions come up all the time. Sine, cosine and tan. They are just functions. Like squared is a function, times is a function, divide is a function. These functions, like every other function, work on numbers. So for example, squared cannot be like by itself, it needs a number. Same as times. Times is never by itself, it's with other numbers or other letters. It works the same here. Sine, cosine and tan are functions. They work on numbers or they work on an unknown variable which we normally call x. So the first thing you need to know about trigonometry are these three functions. You need to know these in their exam. They will not be given to you, so memorize them. We use the word Sohcahtoa. It is not Japanese, it's Sohcahtoa. And basically it helps us remember the formulas. So the sine of the angle equals O over H, the tan of the angle equals O over A, and the cos of the angle equals A over H. Now another super important thing you need to remember are these three triangles. So I write Sohcahtoa in these three triangles like so. Okay, so what does O, A and H mean? Basically, we have a right angle triangle and O, A and H refer to the sides of the right angle triangle. H is the hypotenuse, so this is always the longer side, the side opposite 90 degrees. I think hypotenuse, long word, longer side. Now, when we're looking at O, the opposite side, or A, the adjacent side, it depends on which angle we focus on. So let's say I take this non-90 degree angle, right? Then the opposite would be the opposite side, so O, and the side right beside the angle would be the adjacent, so this is A. Similarly, if I take the other non-90 degree angle, then the opposite side is O and the adjacent side is A. Notice that H is always the longer side, but O and A can change depending on which angle you focus on. Here we have our first example. We have a right angle triangle and we want to work out X. So what we do is we focus on the angle that we have, so 30 degrees. Okay, so we have H, the hypotenuse, but we're looking for O, the opposite, which in this case is X. So we look at our triangle and we think, okay, what formula includes O and H? It's the sine rule. Put my finger on the O, it tells me that the opposite equals the hypotenuse times the sine of the angle. So in this case, X just equals 4, which is the hypotenuse, times sine of 30, because 30 is the angle. So in my calculator, I just type 4 times sine of 30 and I get 2. So in this case, X equals 2. So let's look at this next example. Here we have an angle and we have the opposite, but we're looking for the hypotenuse. Again, I use sine because I need a formula that includes O, the opposite, and H, the hypotenuse. So I look at my formula pyramids and I put my finger on the hypotenuse. It tells me that the hypotenuse equals the opposite divided by the sine of the angle. So in this case, X equals 24 divided by sine 67. Put this in my calculator and I get 26 rounded to the nearest whole number. In this example, I don't have the angle, but I have the opposite and the hypotenuse. So again, I look at my formula pyramids and I need a formula that includes O and H, which is sine again. So if I look at my formula, it says sine of the angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So in this case, sine X equals 8 over 11. I use my calculator to work out that 8 over 11 is 0.727272 recurring. So now what do? I have sine X equals 0.72727272. So now what I need to do is use the inverse operation for sine. So in the same way, if you had x squared equals a number, when you take over the x squared, it becomes square root. Here is the same. You use the opposite operation or opposite function. In this case, if you have sine, the opposite function is inverse sine. And you can find that on your calculator as well. X equals inverse sine of 0.72 recurring. You put that in your calculator, inverse sine 0.72 recurring, and you get that X equals 47 degrees to the nearest degree. And there you have it. I've shown you how to solve basic trigonometry problems. Watch my next video where I'll show you how to solve trigonometry problems including cosine and tan.